Hello guys, I am Idishres Bhagalwadi, your science teacher, Sankalp Learning Solutions. In the last class, we discussed regarding respiration in organisms, right? Digestion in organisms. So there what happened? The food was divided into the simpler substances. The nutrients present inside the food was divided into or broken down into simpler substances. Now, what happens when they broken down into simpler substances? The ultimate we need is energy. We need is oxygen for all the cells to participate or to do metabolic activities, right? So the next phase is nothing but a releasing of energy from those nutrients. So that process we are going to discuss today. So I think the screen is visible for you all now. Yes. So today we are going to discuss regarding that process, the process of release of energy, or we can say the formation of energy. Just a minute. Fine. So in this class or in this session, we are going to discuss regarding the definition of respiration, types of respiration, how the respiration occurs in plants, how respiration occurs in aquatic organism as well as human beings. When we come to the definition of respiration, it is not just taking in a air or releasing of air. It is not a respiration. Respiration actually is a complex process which involves the breakdown of a molecule. I said you that in the digestion, the food substances will be broken down into the simpler molecules. So those simpler molecules have to release the energy. Those simpler molecules has to be again broken down to release energy. So this breaking down process of the simpler molecules, take as glucose, is called as respiration. So the glucose may break down in presence of oxygen or it may break down in absence of oxygen. Based on that, in presence or absence of oxygen, we have two types of respiration, aerobic and anaerobic respiration. As I said, the breakdown of glucose occurs means, suppose I will give you a duster to break, you will break it into two halves. We'll break it into half. Okay. So like that, glucose is made up of 6 carbon. So how many carbon atoms are there in glucose? Just a minute. 6 carbon. So this 6 carbon have to be broken down, means the 6 carbon molecule is divided or broken down into 3 carbon compounds. That 3 carbon compound of a glucose, when glucose broken down, is nothing but a pyruvate. Pyruvate is a 3 carbon compound. So this breaking down of glucose occurs in a cytoplasm of a cell. So where is the breakdown of glucose occurs? Cytoplasm of a cell. And based on the type of respiration and based on which organism it is occurring, we are going to study what all products will be formed. Okay. So the next one is the first one, glucose, that is 6 carbon molecule. You can see in a flow chart. It will break down in a cytoplasm to form a substance or a product called pyruvate, which is a 3 carbon compound. So why they mentioned carbon? Because there you will get to know the glucose is actually broken down. Next, here they classified into 3 categories, right? The first case is absence of oxygen. When pyruvate, okay, will be there or is formed in absence of oxygen, this case occurs in an organism called yeast. Yeast is an example of a fungi, or I can say it will come in a mushroom family. It is unicellular. It has only one cell. So in absence of oxygen, the pyruvate reacts or gives ethanol and carbon dioxide. In yeast, during fermentation process, what happens? Pyruvate is broken down. Pyruvate is broken down to give ethanol and carbon dioxide. Okay. Next, when we study in presence of oxygen, just a minute. Okay. In presence of oxygen, that is when oxygen is present, this pyruvate is broken down into carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So the respiration in which breakdown of glucose takes place in presence of oxygen is called aerobic respiration. The respiration in which the breakdown of glucose takes place in absence of oxygen is called anaerobic respiration. Sometimes certain situation occurs like when you are doing physical exercises, when you are running. So that time muscle cells, the muscles will be in active stage that time. So the muscle cells will get, that is the oxygen level comes down in the muscle cells. So when the oxygen level comes down, that is a lack of oxygen. So that time the muscle cells, inside the muscle cells, the pyruvate will be converted into lactic acid and energy. Lactic acid is also a 3-carbon compound and also energy. That is why when you are doing physical exercises, suddenly you will get muscle cramp, or we can say muscle catch. That is due to the production of lactic acid. As the oxygen level comes down in muscle cells, pyruvate converts into lactic acid and energy. The production of lactic acid gives, or we can say produces, muscle cramp or muscle catch. So this is how 3 cases occurs during the breakdown of a pyruvate. And based on presence or absence of oxygen, we have 2 types of respiration: aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Next, when we consider the respiration in plants, so we know that during the day the plants will be busy in photosynthesis, right? Photosynthesis. So during photosynthesis, what happens? They will absorb the carbon dioxide, they release the oxygen. But in respiration, what should happen? They should take the oxygen and release the carbon dioxide. It is not that respiration will not occur in plants during the day. It occurs, but the rate of respiration is slow. The process will be slow because it should manage the photosynthesis. That is why during night, the respiration rate will be fast in the plant. So that what we can call the secretion or the release of carbon dioxide will be more in the plant during night because the respiration rate will be faster. That is why they will tell, don't sleep under the tree during the night. Why? Because there will be huge amount of carbon dioxide release during the night. That is, respiration rate will be more in the trees or plants during night. So how the respiration occurs in the plants? That is through stomata. We know stomata which are present on the surface of a leaves, and on the stems we will be having certain we can say pores which are not visible to a naked eye. Those pores are called as lenticels. So these lenticels will be having the cells which are far away from each other, means the space between these cells will be more. That is why these helps in exchange of gases, as well as the surface of the roots are there, no? Roots, okay, the surface, the outer layer of a root will also help in respiration of respiration in plants. So this is a respiration in plants. It occurs, it is a type of aerobic respiration. Next, respiration in aquatic organisms. We know that aquatic organisms also need oxygen. Then which kind of oxygen they will use? They will use the oxygen which is dissolved in a water, means they will use dissolved oxygen. So dissolved oxygen they will use. So this dissolved oxygen which is present in the water will be going and coming outside of the body of an organism. So once you see an aquarium, you just observe it. The fishes will be opening their mouth. Okay, often they will open their mouth. So that time when they open their mouth, at the same time their gills, or we can say the operculum region, will also get open. That operculum region will be having the gills. Gills are nothing but the region which is rich in blood vessels. So when the water enters through the mouth, the water will go to the operculum or the gills. So exchange of gases takes place. That is, oxygen will go to inside the body, and carbon dioxide will come back again with the water and again will move away through the operculum. So like this exchange of gases takes place, that is carbon dioxide and oxygen are exchanged like this in the aquatic organism. But when we compare the respiration in terrestrial animals as well as in aquatic organism, the respiration will be higher in case of terrestrial animals because the oxygen, the atmospheric oxygen is more than compared to the dissolved oxygen. Okay, so this is how the respiration occurs in aquatic organism. Here the mouth enters with the water. The water will be having the oxygen which is dissolved. The water enters into the gills. In the gills, exchange of gases takes place, that is carbon dioxide and oxygen. Now oxygen will be absorbed by the cells of the body, while carbon dioxide will be dissolved in a water and water moves away from the body. So the carbon dioxide moves away along with the water and oxygen will be absorbed by the cells. So this is how respiration occurs in an aquatic organism. Next, we have respiration in human beings. Let us study the parts. The respiration in human beings starts or begins with a nasal cavity or a nasal chamber. It starts with the two, we can say, nostrils. These are the nostrils, and oral cavity, larynx. Okay, we can call voice box also. Then we have the trachea. Okay, pharynx is a passage for a common passage for both food and air. Then it continues with the trachea. Okay, trachea will be having certain C-shaped rings around it, which is made up of cartilaginous rings, so that the soft, what we can say, pipe or trachea will be protected by these rings. Okay, will not be affected by a pressure of air. And this trachea again divides into two here. When they enter into the lungs, we have two lungs, right lung and the left lung. Okay, again the trachea is divided into certain branches, which is called bronchi, plural bronchi, and singular bronchus. Again the bronchi are divided into small branches which are called bronchioles. Let me show you. Yeah, so you can see here these are the bronchi and these are the bronchioles. At the end of the bronchioles we will be having certain balloon like structures which are called as alveoli or airbags. These alveoli, as you can see in an image, these are surrounded or covered by a blood vessels. So this indicates that exchange of gases takes place in the airbags, that is alveolar region. Whenever you inhale the air which is rich in oxygen. So what happens when you inhale, the ribs, what we call, the ribs will move upwards and the diaphragm will become flat. Okay, so that when you do the cavity, the lung cavity, what we can call the chest cavity, it expands so that more air can go inside. Okay, then it will go to the nasal chamber, it will go to the trachea, exchange of gases happens in the alveoli. Then carbon dioxide, which is dissolved in a blood, should be excreted or should be removed out. So when you expire, that is exhale, okay, not expire, when you exhale or release the air, what happens? The ribs again come back to their original position, the diaphragm becomes again curved, and the chest cavity relaxes or contracts, becomes small. So during exhalation, some amount of carbon dioxide will be released, some amount of carbon dioxide will be dissolved in the blood, which will again convert into certain salts and removed out through the urine. Okay, so this is how mechanism or the process of respiration occurs inside the human being. So here we have to mainly concentrate on exchange of gases takes place through the alveoli by a process called diffusion. Diffusion means the movement of the particles from a higher concentration to a lower concentration. Okay, you can ask me, why can't all the cells in the body can respire through diffusion? See, we have trillion of cells. Okay, trillion of cells. If each cell or the respiration occurs by a diffusion in each cell, it takes 1 year for each cell to get the oxygen. So that is why diffusion is not only the method for respiration, is not only one method for respiration. Based on the complexity or structure of an organism, respiration it differs. The mechanism of respiration differs. Okay. Next, as I said, oxygen is released during respiration as well as carbon dioxide release, oxygen is utilized. energy is released. So that energy, what we can say, that energy will be in the form of a molecule called ATP. The energy which is released will convert into form of ATP. The full form of it is adenosine triphosphate. So this adenosine triphosphate molecules will be in a inert or will be not active. Whenever we require energy, these ATP molecules will divide, or we can say will break down into ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and inorganic phosphate to give us energy. So as these release the energy whenever we require, these ATPs, adenosine triphosphates, are called as energy currencies of the cell. Okay, so this is regarding the process of respiration in human beings. I think the concept is clear for you. In the next class, we are going to learn how the energy or the oxygen which is absorbed by a respiration, which is produced during respiration, is transported to all the cells of the body. What is the system? What kind of transport system we have? What kind of transport system does plant has? So let us study about it in detail in the next session. I think the respiration concept is clear. Now it's time to end the session. Take care. Have a nice day. Bye bye.